Real World Redneck Podcast. Redneck hacks that'll make you laugh. Practical outdoor tips and stories to inform and entertain you. Today's episode is sponsored by oldmancoyotecalls.com. Check out their handcrafted predator calls. He's got the howler, and then he's just got the predator attractive for coyotes. Handcrafted. He makes these beautiful things. They can be wood or they can be out of antler, and they just look awesome. If you're tired of these throwaway pieces of junk plastic coming from the big box store, check out oldmancoyotecalls.com. You won't be sorry. This is a conversation piece, and it will last you a lifetime and helps out a mom and pop small business. oldmancoyotecalls.com. He also makes duck calls and elk calls. So give him a try. oldmancoyotecalls.com. Great sponsor, great products. He also has the lanyards. So check out oldmancoyotecalls.com. Now, on with the show. All right, this is Chris. This is Real World Redneck Podcast, episode 30. The importance of a shooting rest. Now, before you fall asleep on me, wake up. This is going to be good. This is going to be important, and this is an overlooked thing. Devil's in the details, guys. The difference between a trophy buck and going home and eating your tag sometimes comes down to the details. Just like anything in life, a Super Bowl ring versus going home might be the details, the smallest little thing. This is an overlooked detail. So I want to share it with you guys, and that's episode 30. First, what did I forget last week? Episode 29, very near and dear to my heart. It's the story of my daughter Grace's amazing 8-point bow kill that we took on a bean field, and I went over that and shared that hunt with her and with you, and that was really special. Check that out if you missed it. But what did I forget? We forgot something really big when we were talking about the killer setup itself and the successful hunt. And we left out something very important, which is shot placement is more important than bow poundage, type of bow, type of broadhead, type of arrow. All that stuff has its place. But you can have a rocket launcher that shoots 357 feet per second with a super duper 7-blade broadhead hatchet throwing device that is like heat seeking laser guided whatever. You aim badly or pull off a bad shot and make poor shot placement, you're missing that animal or wounding that animal. None of us wants that. And I forgot to share with you guys that she shoots a 40-pound Bear Apprentice bow, a 2-blade broadhead, Magnus Stinger, and that deer only went 80 yards, and it was over with just immediately. So shot placement is more important than poundage or any other topic that you want to talk about. So we left that out in describing the successful hunt. So check that out if you guys missed it. Now, on to this week's show. And this ties in a little bit with another one of my kids. Tyler also had a successful hunt last week. We had a week for the ages last week. Started out early in the week with her getting that 8-pointer with a bow. And then we went out youth season, and my son got his first deer with a muzzleloader. And we're going to share that at a later point with you guys, too, in an episode down the road. Not too long, a couple weeks maybe. Maybe the 1st of November, maybe our killer setup series will use Tyler for that. But when he pulled off this shot, he set the same tree that Grace did. That spot was on fire this week. But one of the reasons he was able to be successful is when we got up there, I always bring a shooting rest along, and it just turned out that there's a double Y to the right and the left as you're sitting in this tree. and I extended out the shooting rest and laid it across there, and he was able to prop his gun across that. And I just can't emphasize enough how that helped him steady his shot and make a clean, ethical shot. Guys, shooting rests are mandatory for me. And if it is a rare instance where I can't have one, I am not as comfortable, definitely. But wherever possible, I use some sort of a shooting rest. Now, that can be a lot of things. It might just be a bow hanger that's screwed into your tree. Just rest your gun barrel on that and use it to steady. It might be just a branch. You need to think about that when you're trimming your tree stands. Leave one, and you can just cut it off about 5 inches or so to where it just sticks out to hang gear on. But if it's in a strategic level where the barrel's going to be possibly shooting at game, leave that sucker there and leave it for a rest, a shooting rest. Shooting rest, I tell you. So important. It'll double your range, and it will make your circle and your impact point, it'll get it down to a quarter from a pie plate. If you don't believe me, just try it. And do you ever notice when we're shooting at the target range, trying to hit the bullseye, we have a rest there. But a lot of guys forget it out in the field. Another thing that's really good to use for a rest is just a forked stick. If you're walking along right before you get up into your tree, find you about a yard or so length stick that has a Y on the end of it, and take that up with you. That'll be an excellent shooting rest for you. I've used that in a pinch over the years. And I'm going to put a picture in the show notes of some commercial ones that are available. I have used, there's a kind made out of real light wood that's 2 sticks together, and then on the end of the rest they have some rubber tubing, and that kind of holds it all together. But you can put your barrel of your gun through that, and it just helps firm that up too. The 2 sticks together is an important piece of the puzzle on this. I've made my own. The reason those work so well, especially if you got a base, like you're sitting on the ground in a ground blind, or a shooting house where you've got a solid platform underneath you. Tree stands, it doesn't work as well, and we'll talk in just a minute about an option for that. But what works so well about those sticks, or like shooting sticks, 2 of them, you can set it up and then put your barrel through it, and then you can let it out a little bit, make it wider if you need to go down, or you can tighten it up a little bit and bring the bottom in, the 2 bottom sticks in, and raise it. And so it gives enough to where you can adjust your height up and down, but it's steady enough to hold it once you get it where you need it, and holds it in place. You can do all this in a matter of seconds. And seconds count, as you guys know, when you're ready to seal the deal and close that shot. So the 2-stick concept, you can get the commercial kind. I like to make them, and I have played around with different ways to make them. Something really good that I've found is leftover spindles. We made a porch on our house a few years ago and had some leftover spindles. You know what I'm talking about. They're 2x2, and they're about a yard in length. And I tell you, those things are handier in a pocket on a shirt. I'm glad we had some left over, because I find myself using them for a whole bunch of applications. But work really well for making shooting sticks. They're a little bulky, a little clunky, but I just make them and then leave them in the shooting house. I mean, you're carrying it there one time, and then you're done. All you do is put the ends together, go about 2 inches from each end, and drill a hole. And then you put those 2 together, and you take a bolt and stick that through the hole that you just drilled, put a nut on it, and tighten it down. And it is important, you have to tighten it down to where it's slightly stuck together, but it'll still move. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be just, you can't double nut it and have it just completely loose, because then it's slipping all over the place and it won't hold steady when you're shooting. So work that nut into the wood just a little bit to where it tightens down. And I also at that point I take black electrical tape. You can use hockey tape, or just any kind of tape. Something, obviously, don't use blaze orange tape or something that is gonna, when you move it, it would make a flash and something could see it. So something dull in color. Wrap the end of that, and that's just for noise, to cut down on your noise. But that's it. That is, I've made many of those, and I'll have a picture of that in the show notes, what I'm talking about, but works quite effectively. Something else that I've experimented with is you're fishing and you bust your rod, bust the end piece of your rod any number of ways. I've done it any which way. Kids leave it out and you run over it with the lawnmower. You shut it in a door. Mine aren't like the ugly stick commercial where the woman's mad at her husband and trying to break his fishing rod and can't do it. I've found any number of ways to break a fishing rod. So you end up with these junk pieces of rod. And you can, if you just bust one end piece off, you can maybe, patch those up. But if you break it very far down, then, that rod is shot. And rather than throwing that away, you can repurpose it, break it further down, or if it's the break apart fancy Zebco kind like I buy for $8, then you can just click the end piece out, and just the bottom bigger piece that you're left with the handle you can use, that's about 3 feet long. Take 2 pieces of those, once you've done it twice, which is the same day sometimes for me, but once you've got 2 pieces of those, you do the same thing I just mentioned as far as putting the 2 ends together a couple inches apart, and tape string. I like to use a paracord, if you've got some of that, or I have redneck paracord. This is a redneck hack that'll make you laugh here, guys. Twine that I end up with that they wrap the hay bales with, that I feed the sheep with, the square bales. That comes with a twine that's plastic, like vinyl. I don't know if it's made out of some kind of plastic. It's really good stuff. Mice don't chew through it. The critters leave it alone. And it's waterproof. It'll last for years. So my redneck paracord is that twine. And lash the ends together and bind it together. And then I also go around it again with the tape, the black tape, just to really cinch it up. And you talk about lightweight, and it's still got the eyelet on there to you can put another rope through or something to hold on to it, and make, for carrying or for stowing it away in your tree stand if you want to tie it off. And then if you're on the ground, the fishing rod ends, excuse me, you can mash them down into the ground and it holds firm as you're getting ready to shoot. So give that a try, guys. I think you'll like that, and it's just an easy, minor detail that might make the difference between bringing home the back strap and bringing home an empty shotgun shell and with nothing else to show for it. The other commercially available one that I like is one that I use in the tree stand, and it's a telescoping, actually they call it a camera mount. I'll put the link in the show notes for the one I use. It works really well. It's made out of lightweight metal. It's actually black color, dark color, and it's got a cushy hand grip right where you can put your hand, and it's got a threaded end that you can use for camera tripod if you wanted to, or I guess it's not tri though, it's just monopod for steadying that. You can use it as a walking stick as you walk along, and then you've got but it comes with if you don't use the camera mount part, it's got this V that you thread down in there, and it's just perfect for your gun. But I like that for a walking stick, and as you're walking along stalking or getting to your stand, or it works real well on a tree stands. Now I use ladder stands, and I like to use it because the scenario I was mentioning earlier with the 2 sticks, down at the base where you're putting those, they get real wide when you're ready to shoot. And that can slip off of a tree stand. I've had it happen. The platform the sticks at the bottom are wider than the platform, and so that doesn't work very well. If you're sitting there trying to worry about that and hold it in place and it might slip, or you're thinking it's going to slip, you're defeating the purpose. So I like to use just the monopod style, and it also has down at the bottom, it's got a little ice gripper type thing, a little cleat metal stud at the bottom of it, and it'll stay in place. You can put that into the metal part of the bottom where you put your feet on your tree stand, and it will stay in place. And what I do, this is relates to shooting rests, and it relates to just hunting in general. I don't know if you folks do this or not when you get up, but I play through in my mind where I think the shots are going to come from. And I usually even get my rangefinder out. And I'm like, okay, I see. There's the edge of the timber there, and there's the bedding area there. You got cover, and they're going to walk out probably to feed into that trail right there, or that opening, and that's, you shoot it, and okay, that's 80 yards or whatever. Get the scenario ready in your mind. And it's amazing how often that plays out the way you think. Not every time. Definitely not, and that's part of the fun of hunting too, is when the deer do what you don't think they're going to do. But I will go through and put, the most likely spots they're going to come out, and adjust the telescopic portion, take a practice aim with my gun, and get that in the ballpark, so that in the heat of the moment, you might not have time to adjust that. You might not want to, because it makes a little sound, no matter how quiet you try to be. Have that ready, and then if you want to carry that in and out, it's lightweight, no big deal to have when you're walking into your stand when you're gun hunting as well. Also, they're cheap. It'll be on the link probably, but I think it's $10 or something, less than 20. You can just leave it up in your tree too. It comes with a little lanyard thing where you can just hang it there if you like. I'm kind of a minimalist when I hunt. I like to take as little stuff as possible with me when I head out on an adventure. And so if I've already got that in place, so much the better. I keep a fanny pack that's got my tags in it, hunting license. And the reason I do that is because I take this with me no matter what, because it's got my release in it. And I have just got muscle memory built in that you aren't going hunting without that. Because I have, raise your hand, my hand's raised right now, if in the past you've gotten to the field, you pull in, park, get out, and you don't have your release. And you can't hunt, you shouldn't hunt if you don't have your release. We owe it to the animal to get out and shoot the most accurate that we can. And the reason that I'm pausing is I just switched to bow hunting. We've been talking about gun hunting this whole time, and now I'm going to switch to my routine and what I take with me, but I also do that when I'm gun hunting. I've got my pack that I take with me. The minimalist thing got me off on off trail. Sorry. These rests are for gun hunting. You don't need one for your bow. In fact, if you use one for your bow, you'll be screwed, because when the top cable goes and the bottom one doesn't, bad things happen. Bad things happen. Robin Hood found that out 100 years ago, except he didn't have cables on his bow. But I bet if he hit it on the bottom of something and not the top, it screwed up his shot too. You just didn't see that in the movies. I don't know why I just launched off at the deep end like that, guys. But so shooting rests, lightweight. You can take them with you. You're listening to Real World Redneck Podcast. We'll be right back after these brief commercial announcements. Today's episode is sponsored by oldmancoyotecalls.com. Check out their handcrafted predator calls. He's got the howler, and then he's just got the predator attractive for coyotes. Handcrafted. He makes these beautiful things. They can be wood, or they can be out of antler, and they just look awesome. If you're tired of these throwaway pieces of junk plastic coming from the big box store, check out oldmancoyotecalls.com. You won't be sorry. This is a conversation piece, and it will last you a lifetime and helps out a mom and pop small business. oldmancoyotecalls.com. He also makes duck calls and elk calls. So give him a try. oldmancoyotecalls.com. Great sponsor, great products. He also has the lanyards. So check out oldmancoyotecalls.com. Now, on with the show. I left out one, and I'm not going to use it on the next week, the What Did I Forget segment. I'm going to share it with you right now. The ones that come with the ladder stands. I'm a real big believer in ladder stands, and I am so blessed right now that my kids are my hunting buddies, and every stand that I buy now is a buddy stand, and that is just the way I like it. It's just fine with me. But they come with a nice shooting rail. If you saw the picture of me and Tyler that I posted, he had his gun draped across a shooting rail when we were in our morning spot. And then the evening spot was, like I already mentioned, kind of a real-world redneck hack for a shooting rest. But we definitely had one both times. So just the last option is when they give you that shooting rest that comes in the box with your ladder stand, don't throw that sucker away. That thing is golden. And what I do, I just get them prepared, take them with me when I set up the stand, and just put an extra bow holder in the tree and hang it there until shotgun season. And then it's right there where I need it. I'm not trying to, the night before season when everything's crazy and you're trying to get ready, you're not trying to round up your shooting rest and whatnot. It's just right there in the tree where you need it. So use the one that the manufacturer provided for you also. And what I'm looking at here in my backup mobile, it's not mobile, I'm sitting in a shooting house, backup outdoor recording studio, we have one by the Allen Company, and it's this beanbag style. It's a V, and then it's a V underneath it, beanbag flap, and it just sits. You can pick it up and move it. I think all the deer Grace has shot out of this shooting house, she has had her gun cradled in this Allen shooting rest. I'll also put a link there. And if you're using a shooting house, don't underestimate how loud it can be if you just put it out the rail, the 2x4 that you've got built in there, or the plywood. We like the additional added benefit of that. So those are the ones that I know of. If you guys know of some more shooting rests that work for you, please let me know. I would love to know about it. And if you would like to submit your outdoor hacks that will make you laugh, please do that. We'll feature you on the show. I love you guys. I love the retweets. Also, while we're talking about submitting, the iHunt Podcast Big Buck Contest is in full swing. Best Buck Contest is what it is. It might be a big buck, but a best buck has a great story behind it too. Submit your story and your picture to the iHunt Podcast. They're on Twitter, social media, Facebook. You can submit it to me also, Real World Redneck, on all your social media outlets. You send it to me and I'll forward it on, but there's a whole lot of prizes that you can win. We want to hear your story. We want to feature it on our podcast, on the iHunt Podcast, on the Real World Redneck Podcast. We'll get it out there for you guys. This is a great community. We need to support each other. We need to be unified and look out for sportsmen, look out for our wildlife. And hunters are the best at conservation. We all know that. Not everybody does outside of the hunting community. So please submit your stories for the Best Buck Contest. You can find me at realworldredneck.com. Thanks for listening. It's time to go outside. Thanks, guys. Real World Redneck Podcast. Redneck hacks that'll make you laugh. Practical outdoor tips and stories to inform and entertain you.